We are 55 days away from November 8th, which is Election Day. Some states have already begun distributing mail ballots, and a few of these ballots have already been returned. This impending election means that many political polls are being conducted right now and reported on, and hopefully the next 60-ish seconds will make you better equipped to understand what they are saying. Recent general election polls have not always done so well. In 2016, polls showed Hillary Clinton would win Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin en route to the presidency, which clearly did not happen. And in 2020, the polls showed that Joe Biden would win by a much larger margin than he ultimately did. Polls may be inaccurate for three main reasons. First, polls describe how people plan to vote on the day they take the poll. If voters inaccurately report their intentions or change their minds before Election Day, their poll response might not reflect how they ultimately vote. Second, polls typically assume that supporters of the two major political parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, will turn out to vote at similar rates. Thus, polls may be inaccurate if one party's supporters are voting at higher rates than the others in a given election. While both of these factors probably played some role in recent polling failures, I think the more important development in the Trump years was that political engagement emerged as a predictor of vote choice. The most politically engaged, those people who have already returned their mail ballots, for example, were always disproportionately taking polls. But prior to Trump, political engagement wasn't that related to how people voted, their candidate choices. This changed during the Trump years. More politically engaged people were less supportive of Trump and Republican candidates more broadly than less politically engaged people. And thus, all of a sudden, overrepresenting politically engaged voters in polls suddenly meant we were overrepresenting the types of voters who were supporting Democratic candidates. The million-dollar question is whether this phenomenon was an artifact of Trump being on the ballot. If so, Democrats should be pleased about what recent polling data is saying about the upcoming election. Take, for an example, a CBS News poll that was published about Pennsylvania specifically this morning. However, if the polling misses in 2016 and 2020 represent the new normal, then Republicans are poised to do quite well in November. And the rub is, we won't know which is true until November 9th. So I interpret the current polling data to be saying either party's candidate has a realistic chance of winning just about any statewide election in a swing state, including Pennsylvania. So if you care about the outcome of these elections, and you should care about the outcomes of these elections, don't assume that the results you're hearing on CBS today are necessarily going to align with the polling, and make sure that you vote so that your voice is heard in the upcoming election. Thank you.